Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my esteemed viewers and fellow food enthusiasts. I welcome you all to this captivating journey into the science of cooking through my channel that is Hospitality Education PPT. Today, we will delve into the fascinating world where culinary art meets scientific exploration. So, buckle up as we unravel the secrets behind sizzling pans, the world of heat transfer by which thermal energy moves from one object to another in the context of cooking, which plays a very crucial role in transforming raw ingredients into delicious meals. Understanding heat transfer and selecting the appropriate metal for cooking not only impacts safety and efficiency but also influences the taste and quality of your culinary creations. There is no doubt about it. So let's embark on this gastronomic adventure together, and I welcome you all once again to the session of another 30 minutes to the Hospitality Education PPT channel. So, friends, the very basic thing comes in our mind that what and how exactly we can define the word that is cooking. If I ask you, if anyone else asks you, obviously you'll be able to explain it. But the point is that explanation enough to understand the very in-depth meaning of cooking? So let us explore that first. The image is talking about something is getting cooked on a stove, and let us try to find out exactly what and how we can define it in a very appropriate manner. Firstly, we all know in this modern world that cooking is the art and science and craft to transform raw ingredients. Why I say art? Because a very simple example is the way you present a salad, the look, it definitely requires some artistry. At the same time, whenever you are decorating a birthday cake or wedding cake, definitely the sense of art is very much there. Then what is science? Science is basically you are mixing one ingredient with other. Either you are applying heat or you are putting it in the refrigerator for chilling, and you are getting a change. And this change is coming, definitely some actions, some transformation is happening inside. So what is that? That science will tell us. And craft to transform raw ingredients. It is not only knowing about the art, knowing about the science, but also you require a proper craft, the skill. With that, you transform the raw ingredients, then either through application or withdrawal of it. Whenever you are asked to prepare one ice cream, what do? You prepare the mixture, cook it on stove for some time, and then you put that in the refrigerator in due course of time, and you get a considerable and acceptable changes. So definitely that is a withdrawal of it. And application is initial part whenever you are cooking the custard or the base mixture for ice cream. So this combination is either application of it or withdrawal of it. Why we are doing so? To bring about a physical or a chemical change. We have all learned in our early school days in science, basic science, that what is called a physical change and what is called a chemical change. Physical change is not a permanent change. Chemical change is a permanent change. I'm not going into the deep of that physical change and chemical changes in defining process, because that is not a part of our class or the session right now. But we know there is a change, either is a physical or a chemical change, thus leading raw ingredients into delicious, nutritious, and to a safe food. So once we combine these four statements mentioned out here, then obviously we get a very clear picture about the word cooking. I hope this explanation made it very clear in your mind that what is exactly called cooking. So let us proceed to the next. Now the point is how science is involved in it. Science is an important and constant element in the culinary process that already you have realized, but probably not thought of it, those, especially those who are beginners in this particular field of cooking. So there is a science involved in it, because you are heating boiling water, putting sugar into that, and ultimately you are making a sugar syrup. So what is happening? How that crystal is getting melted? You are applying heat, or if you are putting the water and also putting the sugar grains into the water and keeping it one side, after some time some part of the sugar will be melted. Why it is happening? So definitely once the question of why is involved, then definitely the science is involved in that. Foods are scaled proportionately and combined in a certain order to achieve desired outcome. Remember, the word is desired outcome. The what you want, that will come out. How it will come out? If you mix up with one ingredient with another with a proportionate amount, it's not that excessively high, or something just depending on your sweet will, you are adding with one ingredient with another and getting a change. Change will be there, but we are looking for a desired outcome. What we are looking for, we want to make a bread. So obviously, we need to mix up flour with yeast, and we cannot add yeast with an enormous amount. So it has to be proportionally scaled with the amount of flour you are going to use. There is a very simple explanation. Chemical reactions occur in cooking through manipulation or emulsification. Chemical reaction will happen through manipulation process or emulsification process. We'll discuss emulsification afterwards. The control of heat and cold maximizes food quality and safety. The control of heat and cold maximizes food quality and safety. Why it is like that? As because once you are putting something, a food, you want to store it, put it in the room temperature, the shelf life of that food will be, ingredients will be very short. It will be spoiled because of exposure to different bacteria in the normal room temperature, and automatically the food will be spoiled. If you are putting that food, if you want to store it, you put it in the refrigerator. If you put them in the blast freezer, it will become rock hard. If you put it in the lower chamber, lower rack, in the low temperature level, it will also become cold but not too chilled. So definitely it has got different implications. You need to use accordingly and control accordingly. So understanding what happens in the cooking process and using a disciplined approach in applying those principles of culinary science will ultimately lead to consistent and pre-detectable result. Pre-detectable results. That means you are looking for a bread, and if you are following all the processes step by step, automatically, ultimately, the desired result will come out. That is the science. And every time science is more concrete, as because every time you follow that formula, the same result will come out. That is why it is known as science. Now we should know that how this cold temperature affects the food. Cold temperatures are used to thicken and firm textures in prepared food. You want to make some food thick or firm, that change of texture. Texture is the final feel of the product. It is also done through cold temperature process. That means if you pass to the cold temperature, these changes will occur. Gels that are liquid at room temperature become solid when cooled. So that means cold temperature means we are not applying any heat, rather we are withdrawing some heat from there. That is a great example of that. Sauces, when frozen, become ice cream and sorbet. Sauce, I'm not mentioning the specific sauce, I'm talking about in general the sauce. When it is frozen, it becomes ice cream and sorbet. To make it ice cream and sorbet, there are further more ingredients to be added, and what is to be done, that will be explained in the next session when we'll get the opportunity. But here we understand only the application of cold temperature, how the change will come. Several emulsions of meat, poultry, and fish require cold temperatures to create force meats for sausage and pates. Those who have already experienced of making sausage and pates, they must have noticed that we need a composition of meat, poultry, fish with some amount of fat definitely will be there, and the emulsion will be there. Emulsion of this mixture will ultimately under cold temperature treatment will get you the actual force meat for sausage and pate. Cold temperatures also keep harmful pathogens inactive from multiplying and aid in food preservations. So what will happen in a cold temperature? The pathogen will become inactive. They will become dormant. And ultimately, the shelf life of the food will be increased. That means the food preservation. So you can preserve the food very safely. Chilling or freezing food is a reversible process while heating is not. Chilling or freezing is reversible means we are withdrawing the heat. And heating means we are applying the heat. That's why it is reversible process, the chilling and freezing. Freezing slows down the deterioration of foods, extending their shelf life for 6 months or more. So what it happens? It happens that food will stop deteriorating from our present state, and it will remain safe and the same texture for almost 6 months or more in different occasions. Freezing, however, can damage food if they are not wrapped properly, left too long in storage, or improperly frozen. You remember, if you have noticed to your simple household cooking, you have seen that your mother or whoever is responsible for cooking at home, whenever they are storing something in the refrigerator, they are properly storing it, covering it with a clean wrap or in a food packet, so that its shelf life is increased. There is no presence of moisture inside the food. If the moisture is there inside the food, that means it is improperly frozen. Ice crystal will form on top of that. So that is not desirable. That will spoil the texture and appearance of that product you are keeping inside the refrigerator. Repeated freezing and thawing change the quality of food. Thawing means what? Once you are taking out the food from the refrigerator, which is rock hard now, we want to cook something out of that, definitely you have to thaw. Thaw means to bring back to the normal temperature. That is known as thawing. How thawing is done? Normally you will put it from a higher temperature to lower temperature. Means in minus, suppose it was in deep temperature, deep freeze, you put it in a normal cold temperature. Then slowly there is a change of temperature, automatically it will soft down. Whatever inside the moisture became ice, that will melt down, the material will become soft and ready for cooking. So repeated freezing and thawing change the quality of food. Every now and then, you're not going to take out the frozen food from the refrigerator, putting it for thawing, and then taking out your desired quantity and putting it back again, the rest of the materials into the deep freezer. If you do it repeatedly, automatically the food quality will be deteriorated and it will become unsafe. The texture will be soft, it will become mushy, and the moisture loss creates a drying effect. So all these effects will be there on top of the food. Flavor, color, and nutrients also will be suffered through this process. That is why we always instruct that whatever quantity is required, put it in the portion wise and put it in the refrigerator. If you require 1 kilo of fish to be taken out from the refrigerator, you put the packet of 1 kilo separately like that, because you know your daily usage. You cannot put all 10 kgs at a time in the deep freezer, and out of that 10 kgs you thaw it down, bring it in room temperature, take out 1 kg out of that. If you do this process or follow this process, it's absolutely wrong process. The quality of the food will hamper from there. How cold temperature affects the food? Let us see the demography of this. Two things are there. One is slow freezing. If you go for a very slow freezing, it creates larger ice crystals and damages the food texture, flavor, and nutrients through moisture loss. You can see there is a portion of meat is shown out here, and here you can see the inside the crystals are very big, as because it was processed through slow freezing. If you go for a slow freezing, this will be there, the texture. And ultimately, once you are thawing it, this crystal will melt and ultimately the quality of the meat will be spoiled. Another one picture side by side, if you see, this picture is talking about a rapid freezing process that creates a smaller ice crystals and less structural damage of the food. And the result is less moisture loss. So you should always select between these two. Slow freezing, if you want to put it for some time, for a very short span of time, you can go for slow freezing. If you want to put it in the refrigerator for a long term process, then definitely you go for rapid freezing. That's the thing we require to know as a chef or a budding chef or a technocrat in the field of food preparation. Now the time to know how hot temperature affects the food. Transforming food through the introduction of heat will make them more palatable, convenient, and safe to eat. That is obvious. There is no challenge with the statement. If you are given a spinach, raw spinach, you won't be able to consume it, enjoy it. But if I prepare something out of the spinach and given it to you, obviously the flavor will change, the texture will change, it will become more acceptable and convenient for us to digest. So all these matters are involved once you are applying the heat in the cooking process. Heat brings out natural flavor in food. Proteins like meat and poultry need to be cooked to achieve tenderness. You cannot have raw flesh, while rice and dried beans are cooked in liquid to make them digestible. You must have noticed that whenever rice is made or some beans or pulses are cooked, they are soaked in water for some time, they absorb the moisture, they become soft, and then automatically we cook it and it becomes digestible to us. If you are not soaking it in water in most of the cases, then the cooking time will be unnecessarily increased. If the cooking time is increased, your cost of fuel will increase, ultimately the cost of the recipe will be increased. So as a commercial venture, in a commercial venture, you cannot afford to do that. So exactly you should know what is the process and how you're going to apply it. Combining flour with liquids and other ingredients result in cakes, bread and pasta. That you all know. Sometimes you make paratha at home, you mix all these ingredients, but you cannot make the paratha you need to heat it to complete the process. So there also we require heat. In case of making stocks, soups and sauces, to get the optimum flavor, a concentrated flavor, we need to heat them and cook them to a certain extent. Cooking makes food safe. How? By destroying harmful bacteria. Holding foods hot also keeps bacteria and other harmful enzymes at bay. So it's very important. That's why we prefer to serve hot food hot and cold food cold. It will remain safe for all of us. Now we'll discuss about heat principle, how heat travels. We have learned this in our basic science, but here we want to clarify it with some examples so that it will become very clear in our mind. Firstly, we are having three kinds of heat transfer process. How it travels. First one is conduction. You can see here that is the conduction process. Second one is the convection process, and third one is the radiation process. In this one picture, we have identified how this heat is transferring through conduction, through convection, and through radiation. But we want to explore it little more. Let us see the explanation for it. Firstly is the conduction. What is conduction? Conduction is the process of heat being transferred between objects through direct contact. Here you can see that from the flame, this container is getting heated. And once the container is getting heated, then heat is transferred to the handle. The handle is also getting heated. This is simply the example of conduction. And it is the most common type of heat transfer. In cooking, the burners on stove will conduct heat energy to the bottom of the pan sitting on top of the stove. That you can see this bottom of the pan is getting heated because of the direct contact of the heat. From there the pan conducts the heat to its content. Now from this area the heat is getting transferred to the entire metal, entire container, through which process? That is known as the conduction process. And here is the image. This image is also a little clear. Here is the heat source. On top of that the pan is there. Firstly the pan is getting heated, the bottom part, and from the bottom part the surroundings of the pan and other parts are also getting heated. This is known as conduction. I hope it is very clear now in our mind. Second one is convection. Convection occurs when heat is sprayed through the movement of fluid or a gas and through mechanical manipulation. Inside the pan, whatever liquid is there, that the bottom part of the liquid is firstly getting heated. Then once it is becoming heated, it is going up from the top due to the transfer of heat, difference of heat. The top part is coming to the bottom, it is getting heated, it is going up. Like that there is a circulation. It is spreading through circulation process. And sometimes we stir it with a balloon beater, and ultimately convection also occurs. Convection can be as simple as stirring a pot on the stove. You have placed a bowl of milk for heating purpose and you are stirring it continuously. What you are doing, you are allowing the convection process to come in action. Another one is hot air in an oven creates movement either through a natural or fan forced process. If you have noticed the oven inside part, there is a fan at the back or to the convenient place inside the oven through which the circulation is there. So it is getting circulated inside. That is a good example of convection. Boiling, simmering or steaming creates movement through the heating and condensation of water. In case, so how water is getting heated in a container? That is through conduction. And inside the water, how heat is getting spreaded? How heat is getting transferred? Through convection. Remember these 2 points. In case of deep fat fry in oil is a convection process similar to boiling water. So boiling water, heating of oil is happening through convection process, and heating of pan, object to object, it is a conduction process. Example is here. In one case, you can see the liquid is getting heated. Once the liquid is getting heated, the bottom part of the pan, it is going up. From the upside, the comparatively cold liquid is coming down to the bottom because of the change of temperature, and they are getting heated, they are going up. Like that, there is a circulation process and it is happening. And you get to see, once the water is boiling, you get to see it is in a movement. So that is because of convection. In case of mechanical convection, if you see that there is a stirring process, the balloon beater is used and we are stirring it continuously, so that we want heat should be traveling inside the liquid uniformly all over. And that's why we are stirring this mixture inside the container. So in these 2 cases, heat is getting traveled to all the areas in the remote places through convection process. So I believe that the idea between conduction and convection is now very clear in our mind. Now it is the time to discuss about the radiation. What is radiation? We have seen sun. Sun is there in the sky, blazing sun, and we are getting the heat. This is the simple example of radiation. Because the heat source is at an extremely high temperature, foods don't need to be in direct contact with the heat source. We are not there in the sun. We are getting a heat. And how we are getting the heat? Through radiation process. I'll make it a little more elaborate. The heat from a grill or broiler is an example of infrared radiant energy that is given off by its heat source, much like the sun warms the earth. Now let's see the picture. Similarly, the microwaves are an example of electromagnetic radiation that works by reversing the polar fields of water molecules in food, causing them to vibrate and generate radiant heat. In the microwave, what is happening? Inside the ingredient, whatever water molecules are there, that is getting vibrated, and due to this vibration, the heat is getting generated, and through that heat is known as the radiant heat, and through that heat the food is getting cooked in a short span of time. The image I was talking about, you can see here is your burning charcoal. On top of that, the grill pan is placed, and on top of that, the meat piece is placed. So by any chance or any moment, this meat is not coming in direct contact with the flame. What is happening? From the flame, these grill bars are getting heated, and the grill bars now, through that, the radiant heat process, ultimately this meat piece is getting cooked or grilled. That is the concept of radiant. Now, I think the heat transfer process is very clear in our mind with this explanation. If not, don't forget to give your comments in the comment box. I'm sure I will make it very clear for your doubts. Now, cooking time. Cooking time affects. Very simple, that you know, you have experienced. You want to boil the water, you can put it on a low flame on a stove, you can put it on a high flame on a stove. If you put it on a low flame, the desired temperature you are looking for, that will take little more time to achieve. If you put it on a high flame, the desired temperature will be achieved very fast. So that means there is a change of time. Same thing applicable for the cooking. Cooking time also affects. How it affects? On certain factors. Firstly, the temperature of the cooking medium. Low temperature, high temperature, medium temperature, that will increase, decrease or moderately increase the cooking time of the product. Speed of the heat transfer, how fast the heat is getting transferred from one source to another, that also affects the cooking time. Other than that, the size of the meat or the product you're going to cook, the thickness of that product, the density of that product, the moisture content of the mix of that ingredient, and the initial temperature. All these factors also are major factors which affects the cooking time ultimately. Let us see these demography out here through graphical representations. On your screen, we can see there is a box. There is a diagonal line in between, which is the demarcation between two things. The top part here, it is showing the thickness and cooking time. And this part is the temperature. Here we can see in case of temperature, it is a low end and it is a high end. That means this side anywhere it is a low temperature is increasing and going to the highest level. Similarly here, you can see the thickness closer to 0 is more thick here, and it is away from that is a thin, and cooking time is going to increase this way. Now let us see the example. At any point of time, if you are getting this green mark, green arrow is showing you that a particular thickness of a meat product. Let us talk about the meat product. If this is the thickness of the meat, then you can see this chart will tell you you need to apply moderately low temperature to ensure proper cooking. And once you are applying this low temperature, you can see your thickness is more. That means cooking time is also more. Let us take another one example, just the opposite one. In this case, the thickness of the meat is less in compared to the first one, but you see the amount of heat you need to apply is more, and automatically the cooking time will be less. So that is the corresponding relationship between thickness, the temperature, and the cooking time, how it is affecting. Now we'll talk about different cookware and the thermal conductivity. Very important for all budding chefs and the technicians, those will be working in the kitchen. For them, cookware transfers energy at different rates depending on its composition and density. Obviously, different metals are the best conductors of it, but some work better than others. So there are different metals, cooking metals available. We can use them, but which one will give you the optimum result, the best result, and what are the adverse sides of that using of that metal in cooking process, that is our area of discussions right now. First one, we'll talk about aluminium. Aluminium is most common in kitchen cookware because it is relatively inexpensive. It is a good heat conductor. Remember, it can conduct the heat very fast, light in weight, and easy to handle. All are positive. However, it is a softer metal, and that's why it will get damaged very easily, very fast. And also aluminium reacts chemically to acids in different foods and will discolor the light colored sauce. So that is the adverse part of it. So we as a chef or the person responsible for cooking, we should know exactly the idea why aluminium or why not the aluminium. So idea is very clear. Now in case of aluminium, there is another one which is known as anodized aluminium. What is anodized aluminium? In this case, the aluminium is electrolytically coated with some preventive coating. As a result, it becomes harder metal than the regular aluminium, and it becomes resistant to acids and will not discolor the food, and also it becomes less porous. So between aluminium and anodized aluminium, it is always better to use the anodized aluminium metal for your cooking process. Next is copper. Copper is the best conductor of heat and the most expensive. However, it reacts chemically to food, so it must be lined with tin or stainless steel. There is a process. Whenever you are using copper, ensure that that is lined with tin or stainless steel by the expert people, those who are doing it by their profession, from them, so that copper metal becomes safe for cooking food. Next is stainless steel. It is a very poor conductor of heat. However, combined with a layer of copper or steel on the bottom becomes an excellent, albeit expensive cookware. In case of steel, the basic problem is that it becomes heated very fast, and also it releases heat also very fast. So it is not exactly ideal container for cooking as a cooking vessel. So what can be done to make it feasible for cooking? The bottom part of the container should have a copper layer so that it becomes excellent, also become expensive and very positive cookware for your cooking process. Stainless steel will not react to acids or discolor sauce. It is most commonly used for food holding and storage. It is very much used, easy to clean, easy to maintain. So naturally, it is used for holding the food and used for storage purpose, not exactly for cooking. If you are using it for cooking, you ensure that the bottom part of the container should have a layer of copper, and copper should also have a layer of tin or stainless steel. Next one is cast iron, very old, primitive, contain metal for using cooking. Cast iron has the ability to distribute heat evenly. It has got excellent ability to distribute it evenly and to maintain temperatures for long periods of time. Not like steel. It can hold the temperature for a longer period of time. It will crack easily if dropped, and will also rust unless conditioned properly with oil after washing. So cast iron is very good. It has got all positive things in it. However, you need to maintain that after every use. Whenever you are storing it, definitely storing the container, or the container is not in use, ensure that it is well cleaned, dried up, apply oil, and then keep it in the container rack so that you can use it next time very safely and ideally. And another one thing is very common in our life now in the kitchen, that is non-stick cookware. Non-stick cookware uses either a combination of fluoropolymer plastic, which is also known as perfluorooctanoic acid, that is PFOA, and polytetrafluoroethylene, that is PTFE, or silicon as coating to prevent food from sticking in the pan. They are considered safe and non-toxic at cooking temperatures below 660 degrees Fahrenheit or 350 degrees Celsius. So remember these two kind of coating is there for the non-stick. Why it is ideal? It is, the name is non-stick because it is not sticking to the pan, and always safe, non-toxic, and cooking temperature should be below this temperature. If you can maintain that, then there is the ideal cooking ware or cookware. But you should remember one point about it for caution, that is fluoropolymer coating is a type of non-stick coating that is used on some cookware. It is made from a synthetic polymer called PTFE. We have already mentioned polytetrafluoroethylene, which has a very low friction and high resistance to heat and chemicals. However, there are some potential health risks associated with this fluoropolymer coating, especially when it is either overheated or damaged. So before using, you as a responsible person for cooking, you must be aware of it and also ensure that your associates and juniors are also aware of it. Before using, you should know whether it is damaged or not, then you are not going to use that container. You ensure that it should not be overheated because already you have specified the temperature in the earlier slides. Beyond that, it should not be cooked on high heat. So non-stick is not desirable for your heavy loaded cooking. That you should remember. So with this, we have taken the initiative to explore the definition of cooking, application of heat, transfer of heat, and how and what type of metals will be ideal for cooking. Their merits and demerits. So we are at the end of this session, and I thank you very much for attending this session with all your curiosity. Hope you have enjoyed this. Many points we have discussed out here. If still there are some dark area for you to understand, please comment me in the comment box. I'm very sure that I will get back with you the right clarification for that. And if you have liked, please do subscribe, like and share this for your associates, friends, so that people will come to know exactly how heat is acting and what is the science behind it. Remember, once again, your valued comment is very, very important for me, which will keep me motivating so that I can come back very soon with another one very exciting lesson for you all. Once again, with a view that we will be meeting soon in our next class. Till then, thank you. Goodbye.